In Pit Lane, proudly brought to you by Online Invent, websites, digital marketing and custom software.
Lane. We're coming back to a brand new series here on Channel 31 in Melbourne and Geelong, and of course on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. If you're watching us live, that's it. You're watching us sort of put the show together. If you're watching us on Channel 31, welcome back. It's great to be back here once again. And joining us this year once again, alongside me is my partner in crime. Very quickly, Craig Doc Latigo. Good to be back, Doc.
Absolutely fantastic, brilliant. It's just a feast of motorsport everywhere all the time. How do we keep up with ourselves?
Speaking of a feast of motorsport, you can see behind us now some classic Australian drag cars, and coming up this weekend at Heathcote Park Raceway, there's the Nostalgia Nationals and the Australian Drag Racing Pioneer Awards. That's coming up, and a little bit later on in the program we're going to be joined by local drag racing historian Geoff Orrell is going to be joining us. Also, to take us out, we've got some live music from our band Sweet Chancellor. They'll be coming up a little bit later on in the show, but right now it's been a huge weekend of motorsport and we're really packed in time. All I have time to say is let's go to the In Pit Lane Motorsport News. Well, Daniel Ricciardo's options to continue his 12-year Formula One career seem to be running out, with the news that Pierre Gasly may replace Fernando Alonso at Alpine next year. Red Bull have agreed, at least in principle, to release Gasly to drive for the French manufacturer. However, this is conditional on the FIA granting US IndyCar driver Curtin Holter the required licence. Christian Horner told the media at Zandvoort last weekend that Herta is the only choice to replace Gasly, and Red Bull will not release the Frenchman unless the American is clear to drive. With Gasly at Alpine and Herta at AlphaTauri, this would leave only Haas and Williams as possible seats for Ricciardo.
There was plenty of local two-wheel action last weekend with the latest round of the Victorian Road Racing Championship at Phillip Island. The feature race was the Harvey Wilshire race for superbikes and featured many of the sport's top riders, including a former MotoGP champion.
The latest round of the Victorian Road Racing Championships at Phillip Island started under grey skies, but as the quality field of superbikes came out for the Harvey Wilshire Trophy race, the sun broke through and it shone on Crew Halliday, who took the honours as Yamaha's dominated the race. Troy Herfoss made a great start on the Honda to take the early lead, but he was soon hauled in by lap 2 by the Yamaha of Mike Jones. Halliday had made a slow start from pole, but by lap 3 he passed his teammate and from then on was never headed. Jones finished a close second, but the dice of the race was for third between Herfoss and Ant West. At the flag, it was the former MotoGP rider West who came from 6th on the grid to take the final podium place.
Well, Top Line Motorsport returns to Sandown in 2 weeks' time with the Shannon's Australian Motorsport Championships. TCR, Porsche's production cars and the popular Trans Am cars will all feature. One local Trans Am driver, Ben Grice, took advantage of a recent club day out at the track to get in a few extra valuable testing laps.
So we're here, Tampa Motorsport Day, running the All-American Driveline Auto Parts Ford Mustang, and really difficult to get track time here at Sandown with how popular it is. So yeah, stuck into one of these days, which is quite cool. It's difficult to get clean laps. Like these days are really well run. They're really popular, and a lot of new people and getting involved and getting some laps. So in one of the groups here, and just to get a bit of a handle on what we run in our car in the Trans Am round coming up in September, so the 16th, 18th of September. So just getting ready for that, rolling some laps and working out what to run in our car. So.
Ben is currently lying in 8th place in the series, which is rapidly growing in popularity with both competitors and race fans.
Yeah, they are quite popular. They're good basic cars. They're not too difficult to run, and they put on a good show. They look good, they sound good, they slide around, they're fast, you know. So real good things. Really enjoying being involved in it, and it's a perfect branch for All American Driveline Auto Parts perfect partner for them.
The Trans Am will be a part of the Shannon's Australian Motorsport Championships at Sandown from September 16th to the 18th.
Once again, there was no shortage of action overseas with MotoGP in Misano, the start of the NASCAR playoff session in Portland, the NHRA Nationals and Formula One in Zandvoort circuit. And it's a story that leads us into this week's international wrap.
Another Grand Prix, another win to Max Verstappen, the Red Bull driver taking the flag for his 4th win in a row. Starting from pole, Verstappen comfortably held off the challenges of Ferrari and the fast improving Mercedes to put one hand firmly on the title for this year. A strong second place for George Russell after his teammate Lewis Hamilton was caught out by a poor pit strategy that dropped him to 4th place. This allowed Charles Leclerc to keep his increasingly slim title chance alive with a 3rd place. The latest round of the IndyCar Championship, and it was Anzac Day on the streets of Portland. Scott McLaughlin started from pole and was in control for most of the race to take his 3rd career IndyCar victory. McLaughlin's Australian teammate Will Power strengthened his championship lead with a 2nd place, with veteran Scott Dixon rounding out the all-Antipodean podium. It was also a great weekend for another Aussie abroad, with Hugh Barter taking 2 wins and a pole position in the latest round of the Spanish Formula 4 Championships at the Algarve circuit in Portugal. The win keeps the young Melbourne driver in 2nd place in the championship behind Nicholas Soloff, who won the weekend's 2nd race. Things didn't go quite as well for another Aussie in Jack Miller. After taking pole, Miller took the early lead but threw it all away after crashing on lap 2. Francesco Bagnaia went on to win the race from Enea Bastianini by a mere 34/100ths of a second in another thriller. Aprilia rider Maverick Vinales was 3rd. Miller got up to finish the race in 18th place. A win to Eric Jones at Darlington in the first race of the NASCAR playoffs. Jones, who was not in the playoffs, held off a fast-finishing Denny Hamlin after early race leaders Martin Truex and Kyle Busch both suffered engine failures late in the race. Kevin Harvick also went out in spectacular fashion after his car caught fire soon after winning stage 2 of the race. Anton Brown drove to his 2nd Top Fuel win in the past 3 races, earning his 1st NHRA Nationals win since 2011. Brown defeated points leader Brittany Force in the final round. Defending Funny Car World Champion Ron Capps took his 1st victory in 27 appearances at the Big Go, winning Funny Car over points leader Robert Height. Greg Anderson picked up his 100th career win to take out Pro Stock over Dallas Glenn, becoming just the 2nd driver in NHRA history to reach the 100 career victories milestone. And Matt Friz won Pro Stock Bikes with a win over Karen Stoker. And that's the In-Pit Lane news for the week commencing Monday, September the 5th, 2022 it is. I've aged myself a year. We'll have more news next week, but when we come back, we're going to preview this weekend's big Nostalgia Nationals at Heathcote Park with local drag racing historian Geoff Orrell. And coming up, live music from Sweet Chancellor. You're watching In-Pit Lane on C31 Melbourne, on CTV Plus and the In-Pit Lane YouTube channel. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Get the phone ringing for your business with website development and SEO services from Online Invent. Visit onlineinvent.com.au.
Welcome back to In Pit Lane. Well, historic racing is huge all over the world. I mean, events like the Goodwood Festival of Speed, the Laguna Seca Monterey Reunion, all of those, great events around the world. And historic racing has really sort of been very strong in circuit racing, but perhaps not quite as strong in drag racing. Well, all that changes this weekend up at Heathcote Park when we have the Nostalgia Nationals, a celebration of Australia's rich drag racing history. Part of that is the Australian Pioneer Awards, and the man who's putting that together. And joining us tonight is Australian drag racing historian Geoff Orrell. Geoff, welcome to In Pit Lane.
Thanks for having me, guys. Great to be here.
Thanks.
Now, first of all, let's start on what we're going to see this weekend at Heathcote Park, because it's an exciting lineup of cars and people we're going to see.
It is. It's a 2-part program, actually. I'm running the Pioneer Awards, which is saluting drag racing greats from the past, from the 60s, 70s onwards. And Ron Smith and the Australian Nostalgia Races, they're doing the actual racing program. That'll start at 10 o'clock in the morning, run through to lunchtime with time trials. Then they'll get going with their first round, and then they'll stop. So we're doing the Pioneer Awards at 4 o'clock in the afternoon onwards until we've got about 16 recipients to award gongs to, and we'll do that until hopefully about 8 o'clock, and then we'll finish off with 2 or 3 nitro cars cackling in the dark
Now tell us about some of those nitro. We've got some interesting cars there. They're not running down the track, but they are firing up, and that'll still shake up the local wildlife.
Well, from Orange and New South, Ross Preen's bringing the Banshee top fuel dragster cackle car down. You can expect a lot of noise, a lot of sore eyes and coughing of nitro fumes, and probably 5 foot tall flames, header flames in the dark. Damien Martini is bringing his actually active top fuel bike along, and he's going to do a cackle for us, but then in the dark, in the start line after the show's finished, he wants to do a couple of launches, so that'll be spectacular. Not runs in the dark, but a couple of launches. And we've got the Peter and Helen Russo Dodge Daytona Nitro funny car doing some cackling, so along with some I was going to say lesser cars, but they're not lesser cars, they're just smaller capacity things, going right back to a 1960 grey motor Holden Fiat Topolino altered called the Bushman, which Jim Underwood ran in the 60s, and I think you and I spoke about it.
Yes, I remember. The thing that I'm looking forward to is I'm going to see a lot of these cars in the flesh or in the metal and in colour for the first time, because I grew up, they were sort of, they were in the black and white days of Channel O back then.
That's right, yes.
From Calder back in the day, so I'll see a lot of these cars. One of the cars that I believe we might have up there is Harrop's Howler. Tell us about that.
Yes. Ron Harrop is loaning us Harrop's Howler. In fact, a mate and I are picking it up on Friday morning. Ron lives in Kilmore now, and we'll bring it up to the track on Friday, lock it in the shed, and Ron's not going to run it. He's too busy with various jobs. He's still engineering, even though he's closed. Well, he hasn't closed Harrop. He's moved Harrop's Howler on in Bell Street. So that was one of the most feared six-cylinder cars in Australia. Bothered every six-cylinder car in Australia and most V8s at the time. A legendary car.
While we've got you on the subject as well, though, too, a little blast from the past be about yourself. Don't be ashamed. Don't be bashful. In 1974, I think it was the Nationals in Castle somewhere.
Castlereagh, yeah.
Castlereagh. You had a little bucket there. You were racing yourself back in the day, was it?
Yes, and I was very, very close to the national record that day, where in fact I was nowhere near it, but my car used to wheel stand off the braking beam. So I broke the beams with my back tyres, so I got a 10.55 or something on a 10.50 national record, and astounded everyone, including myself, and the Wilson brothers who held the record, and thought they had some real hot competition for once, but we lasted till the second round and then got mowed down. As all frauds do, Doc.
But that's all right. At least you had some fun doing it, though.
Yes, I'll say.
It's interesting. I said about the popularity of historic racing. When we have the Phillip Island Classic, we have so many big historic racing events around Australia and around the world, but it doesn't seem to have been caught on quite the same way in drag racing, but that does seem to be changing now. Are you hoping that this is going to sort of move on, and that we'll get more of these famous cars that are perhaps sitting in sheds at the moment, being unused and unloved, perhaps grandpa's left it behind or something? You're hoping they'll get them out of those sheds and we might actually get them back on the track again and actually doing passes?
Yes. As competitive cars, they're probably not anymore, but they're as nostalgic, items. They're wonderful examples. Front engine dragsters and old gases and all the rest of it.
Did I even see a two-wheeler as well? Someone had a two-wheeler at one stage as well too. Two-wheel drag car. The back wheels had double wheels as well too.
Yeah,
I think you put a post. Yeah.
You may have stumped me there, Doc.
That's right, yeah, you put a post up a little while ago of a double-wheel drag.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Not a two-wheeler.
No, yeah, the double wheels.
Twin-engine, four-wheel drive.
Yes.
Bob Gowdy from New South Wales built this car in the late 60s, and it's two grey motor Holdens driving the front and the back wheels through Land Rover mechanicals at the front, and he ran it once at Calder in 1969. I don't know whether you were there, Brett.
I'm not surprised you didn't run it again by the sound of it.
You got footage?
No, the camera was at home that day.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
It didn't run that well, and they couldn't work out why one carby wasn't going quite so well until they got home and remembered they'd had it off. And a wasp had built a nest in the SU jet, so it ran okay in other places, but...
Not enough killer wasps.
Because, of course, there was a famous TV Tommy Ivo car in the States, which was the burnout car, the famous four-wheel drive car that was very popular. Running around there. So with the awards, what's the criteria for the awards? How are they decided, and what are people going to get, and who are the recipients going to be?
Look, we try to keep constantly back from 30 years rather back from the present day. So we go right back to fellas like Perotta and Caruana, who ran the legendary Satisfaction.
Friends of ours, Joe and Charlie.
Yeah, they're coming along. They're getting a gong.
Oh, that'll be good. I can catch up with them again.
And you would remember Jet Car Jack McDonald.
Yes, very much so.
Going to get a gong, but sadly, which you would expect with pioneers, Jack's had a couple of strokes just in recent weeks, so he can't make it down but Jack was obviously a madman. He thought he could strap a jet engine onto a frame and do 200 mile an hour at Calder when you couldn't even pull up a hot EH safely. So he was a bit of an adventurer, Jack, but it's a terrific guy to speak to. I'm disappointed that he can't make it down.
Hopefully he's doing some other sorts of gardening and rehabilitating himself.
We've got Jungle Jim Carter, who was one of those early pioneers. In fact, in your Facebook ad for this program, you had his FJ. Well, he progressed right through all sorts of things, supercharged Alders and funny cars to nitro funny cars, and he'll be there. Peter and Helen Russo, they had a great career in Australia, and they've been in the States for the last 10 years at the top level and qualifying, down the bottom, of course, of the 16-car field. But, up the top of multi-millionaires.
And of course, and Peter's other claim to fame, which he points out regularly, he was the first guest on the first ever edition of In Pit Lane in 1996. So there you go. Hey, listen, we're going to have to take a break now, but we'll come back to wrap it up in just a moment. But when we come back, we'll have more from Geoff Orrell about the Nostalgia Nationals at Heathcote this weekend. Also, we'll have live music from our special guest, Sweet Chancellor. You're watching In Pit Lane on Channel 31 and the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to In Pit Lane on Channel 31. Well, as we said, our special guest this week, Geoff Orrell from the Australian Drag Racing Pioneer Awards. And Geoff, just quickly, this weekend, if people want to come up, what are the details? Where do they go, and when do they get there?
Heathcote Park Dragway, and racing starts at 10. All the gases and all the old style cars, the Aussie muscle, the American muscle, they'll do their qualifying through till some time. We'll have a lunch break, then they'll do the first round of racing. It's going to be a Chicago shootout format, and then they'll get that done, stop at 4 o'clock, and we'll start with the pioneers. We'll go through the pioneers. We've got some terrific award recipients and some terrific presenters. We've got Paul Rogers Sr., Jim Walton, Hans van Dyke, household names in drag racing. They're doing the presenting.
And they'll add some atmosphere to it as well.
Oh, yeah, some great guys and some great, some people there, it'll be a very, very
And then what about Sunday? There's action on Sunday as well?
Yeah, the guys from the Nostalgia Racing will be concluding all their Chicago shootouts, and then they'll end up with two guys that are obviously equally matched with wins over the three run series, and they'll go into a final. And then if there's still time, they'll have some grudge matches and some burnout contests and general good fun for the spectators.
And the good thing about it, for people who don't know what a Chicago-style shootout is, it's the top fuel, the Australian Top Fuel Championship has been running that as well. And the advantage is it's not like the old-fashioned eliminations where you turn up, you run once and you lose, and that's it for the weekend.
Yes.
You get chances, so, you will see the cars, even if your favourite car or favourite driver loses in the first round, they will come back again and you will see them running 2 or 3 times after that.
Exactly. If he loses in the second round, he still comes back for the third. Whereas in the old setup, half the field out of a 16-car field disappeared after round one.
Yep, after one race.
Just heaps of repecharge is great. Yeah.
So cruel for somebody from Western Australia. So they come all the way to Melbourne or Sydney. They run in the first round and when they put it on the trailer and send it back again after one.
It's worse than breaking it because at least you break it, you can't run it again.
Yeah, it is. But look, it's going to be a fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully, we will have some footage next week on the program here on Channel 31. We really are looking forward to it. Geoff, good luck for the weekend. So we'll be up there with waving the camera around. Have a great weekend. Let's keep our fingers crossed for the weather. But for now, Geoff Orrell, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thanks for having us, guys. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you to everybody at home for joining us once again. And it's been great to be back here on Channel 31 as well. Now, taking us out tonight is our band Sweet Chancellor. And you can see them around there, but they're playing all over Melbourne. They're coming up very soon. I thought we were going to have some... information on that, but we'll put up some information on the screen somewhere. There we are, Sweet Chancellor. You can Instagram, Facebook, Spotify. They're everywhere, like Chicken Man. They're everywhere. You can get all the details of their the upcoming gigs. But right now, this is an appropriate song under the circumstances, and because of what's behind me. Well, there's a bike behind me now. That'll be just right the way this night's gone. But they're going to take us out now. To take us out, this is Sweet Chancellor and Muscle Car. Until we see you next week, thanks for joining us. Good night.